very happy to be here to exchange views with you. I think this is a very interesting time. We just heard, the financial markets went through turmoil in the last couple of weeks. Now are making all-time highs again. It's very difficult to understand what's going on. I think that now I've been arguing for a long time that the global economy has been restructuring around the Chinese economy, and I've been making predictions based on that. Both the Western analysts as well as the Chinese analysts all underestimated the importance of China. When China joined the WTO, I actually started this phrase, China being the factory of the world. That was 1997. And I predicted the Southeast Asian crisis because that I knew China was coming out, and Southeast Asia could not compete. And the people in Southeast Asia did not see that coming. And so in 1997, I saw that China was going to become the factory of the world, and they would have major implications for the world. And when my European colleagues asked me when China joined the WTO, what it meant for them, I said you should take some time off, let the Chinese work for you, because the industries in a lot of OECD countries were not sustainable anymore, and China was not another emerging economy. China was a re-emerging. China was very productive in the 1920s and 30s. Then there were wars and revolutions, and so when China came up, China had this huge potential productivity to be unleashed. So there was not another emerging economy. So when China jumped over these other emerging economies, they started having a big impact on OECD economies. So what's going on is that China is gaining market share because that China is big. China has more people than all the OECD countries combined. And China started from this low wealth base because China was trapped in a depression for half a century. So the wealth accumulation in China was low. So when China came out with productivity but low wealth, so they worked very hard in exchange for wealth accumulation. So that meant that everything became underpriced, became very cheap. Yeah. So and the West went into stagnation. So basically, and the Western living standard was kept afloat by wealth and credit. And unfortunately, credit became a bubble. And so I saw that coming in 2008. The 2008 was basically the Western approach in handling China was based on credit, debt to defend the living standard. Without income growth, they used credit in the United States or Western Europe. Okay, so that when that bubble burst, I knew that that it meant that China's customers went bankrupt. So that's now today's story is started with in 2008, when Chinese government decided to stimulate the economy, and I commented on that. I said that it was a big mistake for China to stimulate the economy with more investment, because your customers went bankrupt. So how could you build more capacity for the same people? They're not coming back. Okay, so this is where all the problems we're seeing in China today can be traced back to 2008. This response, and at that time, all the Western analysts or politicians cheered China on, said China was saving the world, and Chinese credit growth, like China's total debt in 2008 was about 50 trillion RMB. At the exchange rate at that time, it was about what it was that the exchange rate is about $9 trillion US dollars, about that. Now today, China just went up to like what is it now to about 200 trillion RMB. So it's quadrupled, and today's exchange rate is about 30 trillion US dollars. So China has been roughly about 40% of the credit growth in the world since. So that credit growth is China's credit growth is not the same like in OECD countries, usually driven by household sector to fund the consumption. China's credit is always about investment. So the capital expenditure of this size, you can figure out that the global GDP is only what? The global GDP is only $70 trillion, and the global investment is about let's say $15 trillion per year, and the net capital formation is it should be like less than $10 trillion. And China has been doing the total net capital formation for the whole world. That's what the world needs, is what China is been doing. Now China has got all this overcapacity, then everybody is screaming, no, you cannot do it, you cannot sell to me, because you got so much overcapacity, you cannot sell to me. So what China says, oh, when I was building up, you said it was good. Now today you don't want me to sell to you. What's going on? So we are in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble. The overcapacity, my estimated overcapacity roughly is like 7 trillion. Overinvestment is roughly about $7 trillion, and about half in manufacturing, half in property. Now with the world, the trade is slowing, and so China is still doing $5 trillion of investment per year. So it's not changing. It's just investing. And the investment direction is changing now. It's more into like property again. So. If China doesn't doing a lot of people say China has a lot of people, so what's wrong with building more? Now, today there was an article in South China Morning Post, and someone put together all these economic development zones, all these projects together in China. China is run by a lot of local governments. Every local government loves to have an economic development zone. It's like a new city. Put all these development zones together. They are planning to build enough housing for like 3.4 billion people. That's like that's more than half of the people. That's about half of the people in the world. China has a lot of people, but already everybody has a property, and China's property ownership is the highest in the world. It's over 80%, and the living space is already very high, over 30 square meters per person, higher than in Japan. They are still building like for 3.4 billion people. Maybe China should let all the Indian people and African people move to China. Then all the Indian people, African people will be very happy. Oh, let me move into this spanking new building. I like to live there. So that's what's going on in China. China's problem is the people usually say that China is good, growing very rapidly, or now China is bad, it's because it's not growing. This is all misguided. When China was growing very rapidly, I was pointing out that the policy was wrong. And people thought I was just being pessimistic. Now, people tend to get mixed up of two things together. When one good thing is happening, and something is not good is happening at the same time, people tend to think that this is not so bad. Otherwise, it should not be growing. Yeah, that kind of thinking is very wrong. It's when a boy is getting to puberty, growing very rapidly, and he happens to be picking up smoking and drinking, and people say, oh, it's the drinking, smoking making him grow taller. That's what's been going on when analysts analyze. That's what they tend to say. So China was growing very rapidly because there was this potential productivity was being released. Yeah. And then at the same time, China picked up these bad habits of bubbles. And Chinese people love to make money. So when there's not enough money to go around, you create bubbles to make everybody happy for a short period of time. So that's what's going on. So that now that people all say China is bad. People compliment me, say, "Oh, you were right." Now we all agree with you. So, but actually, they don't get the story. No, China has got a great future ahead. The problem is the political system is not working. The political system is misallocating capital. China's problem is misallocation of capital. Building for its own sake. And that China was succeeding because of that. Because when you are poor, you want to build. I think this is correct. A lot of economists do not understand economic development. Economic development is sort of like a bubble. If you don't have anything, you have to build, right? When you build something in the middle of nothing, it's not going to pay off. It doesn't work. So it's much more political sentiment. You just keep building. One day, one highway becomes a network. Then it becomes productive. And then everybody buys cars. Then suddenly, you have very rapid productivity. That's what happened in China in the last 10, 15 years. Yeah, you build. One day, suddenly productivity happens. Then you get into overbuilding. Now you have a highway network already. And you build more highways next to another highway, then it's not productive anymore. So that's there's this too much of a good thing. That's what's going on in China. So China, in that regard, China is very different from like Europe or in the United States. A lot of problems in Europe and the United States are intractable. They cannot solve these problems because it's like it's aging. It's like people don't prefer a lifestyle of leisure rather than like working for more money. It's a personal choice. It's fine. But that means that the economies will always be bad. There's nothing you can do. Yeah. So for the central banks, they think that the economy should be better. That's not what people want. People want to have leisure. So I do not see that the global economy is being managed properly. The central banks do not think like people. So they are making all these wrong choices and printing money. Then we have bubbles and no economic growth, just bubbles. China had bubbles and economic growth. You look at the West, they have bubbles, no economic growth. This is terrible. So like this is terrible, and one day it's going to end up very, very badly. But China's problem is just stop doing what you are doing. Then the economy will be better. So this is like it's like you're smoking, you're coughing. All you need to do is to stop smoking. You will stop coughing, man, and life you'll be better. So that's what's going on in China. So, but the issue is that other Japanese people will understand that there's this political system, momentum. If you talk about a change, the guy says, "Oh, I cannot change. Why? Because Mr. Wang does not like it. Oh, Mrs. Zhang does not like it." You get into these personal politics, all the preferences, all these local governments, they need money. When I walk into a city, when the central government official walk into a city, all the local government officials will rise up and say, "We need more money." Then you get terrified. These people are your constituencies. Your power is based on these people. So then you feel like you have to give them more money. So the political system is working for itself. It's not a grand strategy of something. Western people, a lot of analysts tend to think strategically, oh, China is doing that, there must be a reason for that. There is no reason. There is no reason. It's just that when the premier of China goes to a city, all these people crying, oh, we cannot live anymore, we need more money. You look at this project, it's like half finished. We need money for that, we need money for this. I wrote about China's development like 15 years ago. I said China needs to develop, just concentrate in big cities, just 15 to 30 cities, and forget about everywhere else. And the issue is that, the central government didn't like it. They wanted to decentralize. So they got like millions of cities going up at the same time. Every city has like a party boss. And when you have a party boss, the guy wants to do something. Yeah, the guy wants to do something. So he needs money. So that's the force driving credit growth. The credit growth in China has nothing to do with anything else. It's just political force. It's just driven by politics. So I think this is where we are. It's like, there are many paths for China. China is different from Japan. People say, oh, could China become like Japan? First, the Chinese people, Japanese people are very different. Japanese people, when things don't go well, they don't take money out. They keep everything in Japanese yen. So the economy became bad and Japanese yen was going up. In China, when the economy is bad, people want to take money out. then Chinese people like trade currencies. They're always looking at multiple currencies. Then you could have liquidity crisis internally. Then the Chinese government has to crack down, arrest people, So locking up people. Then suddenly it's okay now. Why it's okay is because they have locked up all the people who are trying to take money out. A few months later, there will be other people. Then you have to lock them up also. So this is like what's going on in China. Liquidity is like you lock people up, there's more liquidity. Then suddenly stock market, property market going up again. Then some people find another loophole to take money out. Then you market goes down again. Then you have to find out who to arrest again. So so that's sort of that kind of up and down, I can see, up and down this volatility related to China. It's going to be with us for quite a while. But the other is Europeans are really unhappy with the Chinese overcapacity because a lot of European industries are not efficient to start with, right? Because they're small in scale. And they are old. They have not invested in equipment for a long time. Chinese overcapacity. You say, a lot of people think China is like Chinese industries are backward. You go to China, you see all the steel mills. They are the most advanced in the world. They're all like a huge scale and integrated. A small steel mill in China is producing 10 million tons. That's like a very large steel mill elsewhere. Basically, China wants wants other people to shut down, so that it becomes a political issue. Yeah, and then all these guys in the United States, industry in the United States and Europe, they lobby their governments to impose anti-dumping measures on China, 20%, 30%. But in the case of China, they don't do. They cut the prices by another 20%, 30% to match your anti-dumping measure. It doesn't matter, So because that, how can Chinese government square the circle? All they need to do is they make the property market go up, and get the Chinese people to buy properties, and the money goes into the government's pocket, then goes into the banking system, then goes into industries. Everybody is afloat. So. The net result is the Chinese people's living standard goes down a little. That's what's going on. So I don't know how this thing is going to get resolved. China's overcapacity, this industrial overcapacity is humongous. It's my rough calculation is that it can produce $2 trillion of more goods. China's total exports last year were $2.2 trillion. China could double the exports with no additional investment. And that's more than the United States, more than the United States and Japan's exports combined. So I don't know how this thing is going to, and this is going to be the issue that's going to be in the global economy. But China is basically saying that when I was investing, you said wonderful, saving us. Now you don't want me to sell. What's going on? So that's sort of I think this is a legacy issue. But for the future, China has got a legacy issues from overinvestment, how to deal with overcapacity, and the other issue is rebalancing. That's the fundamental issue in China is the balance between investment and consumption. And investment, Chinese statistics say investment is roughly about 45% of GDP, which I do not believe that. I look at China's this household disposable income. Based on the survey, I think it's roughly about 40% of GDP. And if the savings rate is 30%, that's similar to Japan's in the 80s. That would mean that the household consumption is under 30% of GDP. So. So I think investment in China is humongous, and the notional value of investment based on the statistics is 83% of GDP. That's a government statistics. It's not on value added basis, so it's different from the GDP accounting. But based on notional value, it's over 80% of GDP. So that's sort of this over-investment story, the investment story has to be reversed. Otherwise, there's no way out. And why China is devaluing the currency? Because China wants to sell more of the same things. The Chinese currency should be going up based on any measurement, lots of measurement, like current account surplus is half a trillion, trade surplus is $500 billion. How could the currency not be going up? Right, so you look at the productivity. Chinese workers, according to multinational companies, are equally as productive as American workers or European workers. But the wage is only one-eighth. Even though people complain that the wage is too high, that's not the wrong way to look at it. It's because you're producing too much. You're producing too much, you think it's the way out is cutting prices. Yeah, but it doesn't work that way. So because there are just not enough people in the world for China. If like China has got 800 million people working, and if you do not consume, you keep producing for everybody, there are not enough customers out there. So that's sort of this model is like fundamentally not sustainable. So that's sort of and I've been arguing that for a long time. The issue is that why it's not changing. Now I told they've been talking about changing, and then finally in the last couple of years they don't talk about it anymore. Basically, that's it. They don't want to change. Okay. I think that there are many reasons. One was I said that the internal politics. All these people who are in the political system, they want more resources. They always want more resources. So the economy becomes more and more skewed towards these people. So that's the reason for overinvestment. The other is that related to government insecurity. A lot of people think that the government control, direct control, is the foundation for the political system in China. If you rebalance, it means that you give money to the household sector. Then household sector will be spending money. Then companies will be trying to make money from the household sector. Then they invest based on that. Then suddenly the government is not in the picture anymore. It's not so much in the picture. So that means the nature of the government changes. So this is where a lot of people feel insecure. If the government is not in control, then the political system may not be able to survive. That's why we need to own so many big companies. We need to own of the whole financial system. Yeah, we need to control so much more money because that's the foundation of the political power. So I think this political calculation has far-reaching consequences. If the political calculation is based on if the political calculation is that direct control is absolutely necessary for regime stability, then we could be in this kind of situation for a long time. Now, instead, that if the thinking is based on prosperity, is the foundation for political stability. It's not a control. It's a prosperity. If you have prosperity, then the regime is stable. If it's like that, you think like that, then we'll be able to reform. But unfortunately, I think that is not what a lot of people are thinking. So this is where we are at a crossroads for the future. In the next few years, the world will be very kind of volatile. We have China's capital expenditure so large, the rest of the world cannot do a capital expenditure. So there's no economic growth, meaningful economic growth anywhere. So the central banks think the way to deal with that is to stimulate through credit policy, through monetary policy. Then they stimulate, they create these bubbles, and that may bring some economic consumption in the short term. But there's no follow-up in capital expenditure, okay? Without a capital expenditure, no stimulus is not sustainable. It's just a blip. So you look at the U.S. capital expenditure, the U.S. capital expenditure, it's been dead for a long, long time. All that zero interest rate has not been able to revive a capital expenditure. So we are entering a world basically of it's a very low growth, and the central bank is doing the wrong thing and causing more and more bubbles. Then eventually one day there will be a crisis. How that crisis ends, is that through inflating away the debts, or through bankruptcy? There are two ways to deal with credit crisis. One is inflation, the other is bankruptcy. Okay, you look at what happened in the United States after 1929. The United States basically kept the currency value. They protected the currency value. So lots of bankruptcies everywhere. Yeah, and there was knock-on effect on the labor market. Then we had in European countries, some European countries like in Germany, they embraced inflation that led to hyperinflation. So this world is very unstable. It could be deflation or could be hyperinflation. So that's why you look at the financial markets, they don't make sense. You look at bond market is so high. Bond yield is like a negative. That means that the economic future is very dire. There's going to be deflation, no growth, right? So that means the stock market should be very low. But we have stock prices are also very high. The stock price is very high. Any company with some steady income is trading at a very high valuation. So that's sort of the world. People are not sure how the world will work out. Yeah, is it the deflation? Is it the inflation? Is it the hyperinflation? Then you look at gold or currency. It's in this world. There's no safe haven. It's people just running around, like go from one pocket to another. And there's a different opinion every day. There's different opinion every day. So people running from one asset market to another. So it's I think it's a very, very volatile market. And it's now there in this world, the people only the speculators. People are making money as speculators. They're running from one pocket to another. If they can get in first and get out first, then they make money. So these are the people that are really prospering in the financial system. And anybody else, the usual thing like a value investors, they're all getting destroyed. They're all getting destroyed, you know. So you look at the normal all these insurance companies, pension funds with interest rates so low, they're all in deep trouble. They're all going to have negative. They have negative net worth. Their liability that they committed to all this liability a few years ago, they're all be in big trouble. So I see a lot of bombs out there in this world. And the central banks think that the way out is by growth. Everybody thinks growth is the solution. I don't see growth. And instead, we should accept low growth. That means low leverage. You have to delever. So nobody likes deleveraging. So we're all leveraging up and up, because politicians don't like deleveraging. Deleveraging means a lot of very painful. So I think we are heading towards a crisis bigger than in 2008. 2008 was just, in my view, the beginning of this very turbulent period. And this world instability does not end until Chinese workers become normal consumers. Until Chinese become normal consumers, otherwise I don't see how we're going to have financial stability. So that's sort of unfortunately. So for people like us, what do we do now? I sold everything a year ago. So I'm not doing anything. I regret everything I own. So I have cash. I have cash. But you always worry that your cash will be inflated away one day. So you kind of jittery. You're never happy. You don't feel safe. So I think this is sort of unfortunately the reality for us. And there's no easy way out. Don't believe in magic bullet. Somebody is stimulating again, you become hopeful again. No, hope. In this world, hope has been like disappointed again. But people kind of, especially financial people, love to be hopeful because their life depends on upside, not downside. So, but unfortunately, I think that is not going to work out. Do we have some time for Q&As?
Thank you, Dr. Xie. I'm sure there could be some questions from the audience. Anyone with questions, please raise your hand.
Okay. Thank you very much for a very informative talk. This property bubble you talk about in China, this has been a topic which has been going on for like the last 10 years or so. So I'm curious to know as to why you think it's going to kind of pop soon and what the catalyst for that might be. Thank you.
Well, the turning point for the property market happened in 2012. Usually, property market, when exports stop growing, the property market is not sustainable. So what happened since 2012 is basically the property market has been going up and down. And the speculation has narrowed to fewer and fewer cities. So you look at, in 2003, there was a bump in property market because the banks relaxed mortgage lending. Okay, then it went down again in 2014. Then the government started to get the stock market going. Yeah, stock market went up for a year, then collapsed. Then there was this is the latest upturn in property market. Started in August last year, August 2015. Yeah, last year, when the shadow banking system got into down payment financing. So that's the subprime financing that happened in the United States, zero down payment kind of a structure. That led to this wave. And that wave really concentrated in Tier 1 cities. Now it's spreading into some Tier 2 cities, but mainly in Tier 1 cities. Then the government got spooked about this down payment financing, and they started to crack down a little. So suddenly, market is slowed down again. So what we are seeing is the stock market is not this way anymore. It's just like that. So, people's memory tend to be short. You thought the property market was bad a year ago. Suddenly you hear something positive about the property market. You think it's good. It's good. It's always been good. But it's not true. The property market has been just going up and down since 2012. There's no trend anymore. So the issue in China is oversupply. That's very different from Japan. Japan was like just a price bubble in the 80s. It was just a price bubble. And in China, it's very much a volume bubble. And so there are 50 million flats, empty flats. Then there are another 50 million under construction. Then you were talking about 100 million flats. So when Chinese people are quantity people, whenever something happens in China, it happens on a vast scale. The quantity happens a lot. So this is where it's very difficult to sustain property bubble when you have such a large quantity. And your supply keeps going up. Because then you have to increase your money supply in a way that is just not sustainable. If your exports not growing, you cannot grow your money supply so fast anymore. That's the contradiction for China's property market. So if you grow your money supply without export growing, what do you have? Currency going down. When currency going down, then people want to run for the exit. Then you have a property market crash. Then the government is trying to stop the capital flight through force. And when you lock people up, are people in the mood of speculating property market? You say, I lock you up, you cannot leave, but you can speculate in property. Would people do that? It's a really tough call. So I think that Chinese government is very, very good with playing with the people. But Chinese people are also very clever. They are speculative, but they're also very clever. So I don't think. I think the property market is on the way down. There's nothing you can do. The supply is so huge. You cannot increase money supply so much anymore. That's the fundamental truth. So as far as when it's going to it's like that, I don't know. It's like in a lot of Tier 3, Tier 4 cities, the market is basically dead. There's it's really, you go to Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen, you see markets still seem to be vibrant. But I think that over time, you will see that the property market in China, the best days are already behind us.
Copyright 2016 CFA Institute. This program is designed to give accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is distributed with the understanding that CFA Institute is not engaged in rendering legal, accounting, tax, investment, or other expert advice. If legal advice or other expert assistance is required, the services of a competent professional should be sought.